Hi everyone, it's Mark Davis here from Davo's PT Tools and Tips, and I'd like to take you today through a serratus anterior bias progression for shoulder rehab and also for shoulder performance. Now, if you remember, serratus anterior, great big interdigitated muscle through here. It's part of the force couple that allows your scapula to externally rotate, to laterally rotate and form the force platform for the power muscle, in particular of deltoid, to be able to do the work of lifting things overhead. Critical muscle performance, often neglected in rehabilitation. So let's go through a basic start it up, develop the synergy, and then go to a higher end of performance in a progression that focuses serratus in its role. As we work through this progression, you'll notice that I'm going to be tapping the muscle nice and firmly through here. That tapping is a facilitation technique. Alright, by tapping there, the brain gets a much better idea of where the muscle is. It connects it, it sends more signal. This process is called tactile facilitation, and we can certainly use it to our advantage in performance training, personal training, rehabilitation, right across the board. Let's get started. Very simple equipment for this. All you need is a Swiss ball, a weighted bar, and your trusty client, and hopefully you giving some assistance so that the client can get the maximum benefit out of this. What I'll do is I'll talk through the exercises, then I'll show you the exercise for each one because the sun's in my eyes. Alright, so first one I'm going to set up the ball pushing against the wall here. Let me demonstrate the position to start. So you see here I have the ball against the wall. I've lifted up the ball so it's just off the ground. The heel of my hand is just below the equator. To make this work, I need to dent the ball. So you'll see there I put a dent in the ball. As it was against the wall, there was a dent in it. It was off the ground, and I tapped away at serratus here. And this is bringing it in as a stability synergist in a slightly unstable but still closed chain position. Let me show you that position again. So in that position we tap away at the muscle so our client gets an awareness of the muscle. We use that position as the base position to now bring in the synergy between serratus anterior, external oblique, internal oblique on the contralateral side, and the adductor muscle group. So we're working right along that anterior oblique sling here, and this is going to set us up with some signaling that we'll take advantage of a little bit later on. For this, we introduce some opposite leg extensions. The key point here is I'm tapping serratus anterior, and it's the opposite leg that's coming forward. That brings in that synergistic line. It's the opposite leg that's coming forward. The muscles signal together, and it brings serratus anterior further up into that synergy. So have your clients set up, get them tapping. Generally we go around, say, 5 repetitions, 5 seconds per repetition, and they do it 5 times. Let's have a look. Alright, so 5 times through when you're doing it, and that gives enough time to really be able to get that signal playing over and over and over through the nervous system. We take that then into much more functional types of activity. So we're away from the ball, which we've been denting. We're now going to open chain. And a very familiar movement, this is going to be a standing single arm overhead press. And you'll notice here that I'm going to use a weighted bar. If you're using a weighted bar, I'd recommend you can use a dowel rod if you need to, but a bar up to a weight of say 10 kg, that'd be the maximum. For most people in rehab, you might have a bar that weighs say 2.5 to 3 kilograms. The reason it's light is that you're going to be holding the bar javelin position and moving it around. And that actually makes it quite difficult to control. So the emphasis here is on control as opposed to load. It's on control. For this, we start in a javelin position. When we finish the movement at the very top, we just rotate a little bit so the palm is supinating. And what that does is it turns you into more external rotation. This brings serratus anterior into its inner range and increases the signal. Here's what we're going to be going for. It's simply a squat press. So I get a good base, I squat, and as I'm pressing, I turn. As I'm pressing, I turn. I turn it back, and I start again. As I'm pressing, I turn. You'll see that turn's simply gone from, in our case, about 12 o'clock through to maybe 10 or 11 o'clock. It's not a particularly big turn. But the element of that turn is, it brings in serratus anterior more fully, it emphasises it, and because it's a long lever, it makes it have to work harder. You'll notice every repetition is slow. From here, we go from a squat position into a single leg balance. This increases the demand on anything that's performing a background stability role. Serratus anterior, the case in point. So from our squat position, coming up, 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 into athletic balance position, single leg neutral. So from squat, all the way up, 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 and it's a balanced position at the top. Didn't do that one very well. So squat, all the way up, 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 into that balanced position. Emphasize, up right through here, switched on through the glutes, and make sure that there's a definitive balance point at the top. The very last point that we go through here is we increase our challenge. In this one, we're still going to go single leg. We're going to do it off a dynamic base now. So it's a dynamic base. We're moving very much in the sagittal plane with this one as we come up for this part of our body. And what we're going to be going through is a lunge. So we go into a back lunge and all the way up into that exact same step. As the knee lifts, so does the bar. There's my back lunge. I come up, 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 knee lifts. So does the bar on that dodgy effort. Knee lifts. So does the bar. Knee lifts. So does the bar. And it's at the same time. Take note. The bar turns at the top. Alright, so we've turned through and it finishes up in roughly that 10 o'clock position. Finishes in the 10 o'clock position. You can get a bit more stimulus at the top if you tap, if you need to. Alright, so a couple of unusual repetitions there. That'll happen, but what you're trying to do is work with your client to get the best repetitions, and when you can, reinforce that each time. Alright, that way they're more likely to be able to replicate it. This is a pretty soft surface to work on, so it's a little bit more dodgy. This is a solid surface. I'd recommend varying your surfaces so you get transfer of the skill, and that way you'll have a nice, deeply embedded signal for serratus anterior to set up that entire force platform that's required for all pushing based work. Enjoy.